I'm Gwyn Kuhner-Brown. I teach in the School of Music. I teach music history courses, music theory, world music. I teach both majors and non-majors, and I have been on the full-time faculty since 2005. And before that, I graduated from the University of Puget Sound in 1995 with a degree in piano performance. Go Loggers! I have two main pieces of advice for new students. The first of them is don't assume that your previous writing experiences in high school are going to determine what kind of writer you're going to be in college. So if you were someone in high school that never worried about writing, you always turned in your first draft and got an A, don't be complacent that your writing is as good as it can possibly be already. And similarly, if you're someone for whom writing has always been a struggle and you feel like I'm no good as a writer, there's so many people at Puget Sound who are so dedicated to helping people be the best communicators, writers they can be. There's no end to how much improvement is possible if you're willing to ask for help. So my second piece of advice is ask for help at any stage in the writing process, but especially early on. Don't be afraid to go and chat with a professor about the very most starting ideas you have for an assignment, because often the professor will be able to tell you what great ideas you have and point you in some productive directions that'll save you time and help you get further faster than you might have thought you could. And similarly, the people that work in the library, the liaison librarians, the people in the Center for Writing, Learning, and Teaching, there's so many resources, so many people to help you move along in your process. And at the beginning of the writing process, it's really useful, and also when you're stalled or when you haven't started as promptly as in retrospect you should have, rather than wallowing in shame and guilt, just going ahead and reaching out to someone for help is never the wrong thing to do. I am a music historian, so I think of myself as a storyteller. And so whether it's in writing for publication or writing for conference presentations, planning my lectures or my discussions when I teach, I always am thinking about why does music mean what it means to the people who hear it or the people who write it. So I'm always trying to get at those questions and figure out what the story is that can be told about that. I love when a student comes to me and says, I really don't know how to do this assignment, I'm struggling with it, I don't know what you're looking for, but I've had this thought. And they'll say something that they don't think is necessarily a brilliant thought or an original thought. And so often the thing the student says in that moment is the seed of a brilliant paper. It's such a great insight. And my role is to identify that that is a great insight, because often students take for granted that their ideas are ordinary. Often it's really a wonderful way of thinking about a problem or a topic, and helping that student to see that that's a valuable insight and then understand how to put it into a context so that it turns into a successful piece of writing. So what are the questions that are raised? What are the questions you have to answer for your reader to get at that insight? What are the problems that that insight creates? What's the context that your reader has to understand to appreciate the insight? So often it's almost like a gem, and I'm just helping them to understand how to set it so that it goes from being a simple observation to a 6-page or 10-page argument that's really the student's own unique ideas conveyed in a really successful, interesting way.